script and stuff. It was C1. Sorry, Kim. That was
Oh.
the wrong note.
Oh no! Oh! Hello, Anima-saurus world, and thank you again for joining me for another industry veteran chat here on Anima-saurus. I am joined by the very talented Tania Vincent today, who is a senior animator. Thanks for joining me today, Tania.
Hi, Kim. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me along. This is lovely.
Now, you are based here in Brisbane as well, so just a quick thing about who you are and where you are right now. That'd be a great start.
Yeah, so I'm Tania. Nice to meet you, everyone. I am a senior animator. I've been an animator for 12 years now, which is scary to say out loud. It's gone very, very quickly. I'm currently in lovely Brisbane, working at a studio called Like a Photon, where we've just made 3 feature films, and the Tales of Sanctuary City franchise is what they're called. That's how I know you. We work together on those films.
Yeah, I mean, that whole story is actually a really interesting story in itself, to be landing in a studio that secured 3 feature films straight off, and it's just like, okay, cool, well, you land in Brisbane, you've got work for, a couple of years straight up. It's like, this is really cool. So, yeah, 12 years, that's quite a feat. Did it all start, where did your journey into animation actually start?
Well, nerdily, it probably started when I was like 5, and I became obsessed with it. But I don't think that counts. That doesn't count. I left university, and I did the thing you're never meant to do, and I worked for free for 2 weeks. But I think it was the best thing I ever did, because I got my first job from that. So I worked at a small company called TT Animation. And they were a sister company of Traveller's Tales, which is a computer games company, and they make all the Lego computer games, like Lego Harry Potter and all of that kind of stuff. And they wanted to create a TV show using all of the ex-Muppeteers from the Jim Henson studio. So they mo-capped them doing stuff, and then we would go in and animate on top of that. It was a really fun experience.
That is really cool. I mean, you just mentioned Jim Henson and puppets. It's just like, oh yeah, you start geeking out straight away. Just going, oh, that would be behind the scenes stuff for what they've done. So that was that's what got you introduced, or a foot in the door. What was kind of like the first project after that you sort of landed into? Was it straight into animation and you've never left, or have you kind of ventured in and out and swam around animation a little bit?
I've been super lucky, and that I started on animation, and then I've just had the chance to just keep working on different animated projects. So I kind of from there, I moved into the computer games. So started in computer games, worked on Lego Harry Potter, just nerding out basically, Lego everywhere in the office. And then from there, we worked on a few games and moved up to children's TV. I worked at a studio called Blue Zoo in London, which is just a magnificent, fantastic place. And I worked on a series called Tree Fu Tom, which is like a little kid gets shrunk down and with all the bugs. And then from there, I did the craziest thing you could ever do, and I went traveling around the world for a while. I lived in South Korea for 2 years, where I did freelance work and taught animation for a while. And then I headed over to Australia, and I've been here for almost 6 years now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, well, that journey to South Korea would be an interesting one. Why was that on your radar as a destination?
Well, they have a program over there where you can teach. So I started teaching English, but I always joke that I didn't get homesick. Obviously, I missed home. Hi, Mom. I'm sorry. I loved you. I love you. But I got really job sick. So I was teaching English, but I missed animation so much that I started teaching animation to people there, and art classes as well, and then tutoring people that were training in animation, doing freelance. But yeah, and then it was very close to Australia. Well, closer than Britain. So I moved over here then.
Oh, okay. So did you? I know you're in Brisbane now, but was your first stop when you came to Australia Brisbane, or did you go up and down the east coast, or did you head somewhere else first?
I actually started in Perth, and Perth is beautiful, absolutely stunning. But the animation industry is very small there. What I did find, though, is I emailed a ton of companies when I arrived, and they were all so lovely. Everyone invited me in. They were like, "We don't have work, but come on and meet us and chat with us and stuff." So that was really interesting to get to know the industry there. And then I got a job at a company called Liquid Animation in Brisbane, and I flew over to Brisbane.
And you just haven't left yet.
I just haven't left. Sunshine is beautiful.
So when you got in Brisbane, was that now what, about 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've managed to always be able to string jobs together here. You know, you've never had an issue actually finding work up here in animation.
No, actually, it's I feel like it's a secret that no one knows. Brisbane seems to be this growing kind of animation industry hotspot. There's so many companies that are just popping up, and I know a load of Australian animators that have gone over to Canada, and sneakily there's open spots up for me. So.
Yeah, I mean it is something, you know, since I'm the same as you. I've come to Brisbane again, you know, family reasons for me coming back here. But Brisbane is a very exciting time right now to be in Brisbane for animation because there's so much sort of groundswell for it coming on. So it's an interesting time to see what's going to happen over the next couple of years. Because like we started at the start, you know. Like a Photon or Pony Up Pictures was a brand new studio when you first came on as well. They'd only basically had a row of desks set up. You walk in, you go, okay, there's your animation seats. You're like, where's the animators? Well, they haven't started yet.
Yeah, it was a special time. I feel like being in there feels a little bit. It does feel a little bit magic because you feel like you're at the start of something.
Yeah.
I really love that element.
Yeah, and since we can talk about it, you know, the first one, the Wishmas Tree, was quite exciting to work on because of the time schedule and everything being brand new studio. Everyone was so excited about the project itself as well because it was only a small team. It's not a big studio, so as far as studios producing, you know, feature film content goes, it's really quite out of the blue for it to go kaboom and here it is. So I think they pulled together a really strong team, you included as well, you know. And they were able to actually pull off quite an exciting project. Now, if anyone hasn't seen the Wishmas Tree yet, definitely hunt it out. It is worth watching. But the trailer for the second one, Combat Wombat, has just kind of come out. How did you feel? Like, what's your feel of the evolution of the project now? Now that you've seen Combat Wombat and the trailer's out, how do you think about the evolution going in there from? Because it's only like a year ago that you really kind of got into the studio for a first time and went, oh, cool, we're making a feature. And now we've got the second ones coming out. So how do you feel about that evolution?
It was such a crazy thing to be a part of. I feel like it's such a rare thing in the industry to be there from the beginnings. And like you're saying, seeing everyone come in and also the benefit of, like, you as the layout team, you were in our room with us. So we got to learn so much. And I think I bugged poor Kim constantly, learning as much as I could about layout. And it's so fascinating. But I think it gave everyone a real opportunity to kind of, I suppose you could, with Rickard, and I know you've spoken to Rickard on this channel too, like Rickard was really open to ideas from the animators and kind of working with how we saw the characters and things. And that's such a refreshing thing as an animator to deal with that. And then going to Combat Wombat, I feel like we all knew each other so well. We could bounce off each other. We knew what was expected and wanted. So I loved it. And I just think this films are getting stronger and stronger because of that unit that we had.
Yeah. And I mean, the team was fairly young as well. There wasn't, you know, it wasn't like an experienced team. We were all kind of cobbled together from different places, which being thrown into such, I guess you say, a pressure cooker situation, because it was short deadlines with very, very little budget for that movie, it really bonded the team. And I think we really gelled really well together. It's something which you don't, you know, different productions, like you say, you just don't get it that often that you get to go, boom, okay, let's go. So, what's your perception about the magic of Combat Wombat?
I think that it's a really rare story. I think it's going to really surprise people. Like, I think you go to the cinema and you're like, oh, I'm going to take my kids to see animated films. I don't. I go in going, animated films, but the average viewer. But I think with Combat Wombat, it's just so funny. Like, the jokes in it and the story is really, really strong. And so I think people are going to love that. And also, biasly, I love the main character. She is this female superhero, very reluctant, doesn't want to get out of bed, which I can definitely feel her pain. So it's just really exciting to see that character on screen. And no spoilers, but some stuff happens that you wouldn't expect. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were talking about it before as well. You know, the another surprising thing, which is interesting to talk about as just a pipeline perspective, is not only were these movies put together on small scale, tight budget, tight restrictions, but we also went through the whole outlandish world catastrophe which has sort of happened as well. So we had to adapt right in the middle of production to go, oh, by the way, you know, everything's changed. How do you think, because by that time you were sort of seen as one of the key animators and you were basically one of the senior artists there, how did you think the team adapted to that process? Because there was quite a few things which was put in place to go, all right, you can't do this anymore, you can no longer do this, and everything you knew is out the window. How do you think the team kind of approached then going, we've still got a deadline?
it was such a crazy. It almost sounds like a comedy film. I feel like you just, oh, you know all these challenges you've got. Well, guess what? We've got one more for you. We've got a global pandemic to throw your way. It was so strange because it happened probably. I would say you might have a better memory of it. It felt like it happened the first week of our third film. Like it was like, let's all go animation. Here we go. Oh no, wait.
Yes.
The world has decided to need to shut down and stay at home.
Yeah, it would have been too. It would have been about the start of the third. Yeah, for you guys, because I was nearly at the tail of the second. So yeah, I was nearly finished up. So yeah. It was like
I was okay when it happened. So I had to on my holiday because we'd finished the film, and then I had to like race back to Australia to get back in time to be able to work. But I think they did an amazing job of getting us set up as quickly as they did. And it's been so cool to see like how studios around the world are handling it. I think we were super lucky in that we already had done 2 films together. So we knew what Rickard probably wanted from scenes, and we knew each other enough that we could just keep messaging each other. Once we got our internet speed set up, that would probably be the worst part. Like animating lip sync on I think it's 12 megabits connection, which would be like you'd move something and then a minute later you go, and you'd be like, oh great. And in 6 hours I'll be able to get one word lip synced from this animal. Fed up, and it was fine. And it's just, it's crazy to think we did it under those circumstances.
Yeah. And we did it inside the time frame as well, which was...
Yes. We met our deadlines.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah. well, let's just go into something, because you just touched on something, you know, like lip sync. What's your favorite, or what's your process then for approaching an animated scene? You know, normally, because are you wholly 3D animator, or have you got a bit of a bits and pieces background that you link from?
So I have a weird way around, because I think most people did 2D and then they transfer into CG a lot of the time. But for me, I was completely CG. I'm one of those weird ones that always wanted to go into computer animation because I fell in love with Luxo Jr. And then, but then I got an amazing opportunity to retrain in cutout animation when I was at Liquid Animation. So I did like a 3-month training process of how to rig and animate in Toon Boom. And then I spent like 2 years animating in that. And that was incredible because it really meant you had to know what you were doing with animation. It really influenced my CG work, I think, because I had to have such a strong sense of posing and timing that the computer was not helping me anymore.
Yeah, because it is a different style, but you know, a lot of people can think that animating is animating, but a lot of the principles are definitely the same, but the approach that you take to it is somewhat different. So what's your approach now to a 3D animated scene? Like when you get your, usually you'll get storyboards or you might get some layout scene. What's your approach to taking that scene through the animation pipe?
Oh, we're going to get to the nerdy stuff now, Kim.
We might as well geek out. We got the time.
I'm such a sucker for planning. I will plan much more. If it was like a graph, I think the planning would be a huge third of how I animate. So thumbnails, animation reference, sorry, animation, like acting reference, filming myself dancing around like an idiot, trying to get what the character's going to do. And then if time allowed, I would spend days on a single pose. Like I really want to get it as nice as it can and sell those poses. But yeah, I have a very kind of like I will stay in blocking as much as I can and block out the keys and then go into the like strong in-betweens, and then hop back and forward between splines animation, but try and stay in blocking as long as humanly possible until we get to the polish stage.
So you only switch to splines in polish, like right at the end when they say, all right, cool, we've had enough of this, let's just make it smooth.
I would use it. I sneakily use the computer's spline to get my poses, like to get them quicker, but I will stay in blocking as long as I can. Yeah.
Okay. And then you know, like you're saying with lip sync, you kind of focus on the face at the end. Then once you've got your full body motion out, you kind of just then focus on this little bit which everyone else kind of spends a lot of time on.
Yeah, I think, but in my key poses, I'll put everything. So the tail, the hair, the ears, the mouth, the face, and make sure that all of those key poses are hitting the lip sync as well. And then I like to run back through and do like a lip sync pass at the end, but then already have like the established points. But the problem is on a fast-paced film with tight deadlines, I always get annoyed because the lip sync I feel like is the first thing to suffer, but it's one of the first things you look at as an audience member. So yeah, it is annoying. But Muppet approach, like if the Muppets can do it without anything apart from this, surely we can do it.
Yeah.
As simple as possible.
Yeah, that's the thing I always go back to as well. Muppets only just ever had up and down and left and right. And you're still engaged with them, just like, oh my god, they talk. It's just like, that was brilliant. So, well, let's keep going down the nerdy rabbit hole, shall we? Have you always spent your time in Maya? Because I know that, you know, this project was all based around Maya. Have you spent most of your time in Maya, or have you ventured into other software as well? Like you said, Toon Boom's another one which you've played in, but have you played in anything else?
I trained in university in 3ds Max, and a little bit in Softimage, which I'm sure some people watching this are like, what? What is that? It doesn't even exist anymore. But 3D Max, and I'm really sad to say this to anyone that loves 3D Max, but I'm not sad that I'm not in it anymore. I love Maya. I feel like it's so intuitive to what I'm doing. But obviously I would go back if I have to.
Yeah. From an animation perspective, yes, I agree. The tools in Maya for animating always felt so much more natural, like just intuitive to work with. Because I was the same way. I learnt in Max as well. That was my first software, and I think the first thing I did was learn Maya afterwards.
Yeah, me too. My first job, they were like, "Here's Maya."
Yeah, okay.
I had to do a project in 3D Max recently, and it was like digging out the old information from deep in the vault. I had to try and remember what I was doing.
Yeah, it's just got a different way of approaching things, that's all. So
different approach. It's just different. Also, I like Animbot. Do you use Animbot?
No, I don't use Animbot.
I couldn't live without it anymore. It's like a set of tools, like a scripting tool that just has so many little things that just make life so much easier as an animator.
Oh, well, there's a sneaky little plug for anyone who actually wants it.
If they want to sponsor us, Kim, give us the. You will take it.
Cool. Well, let's touch on while we're still kind of geeking out about animation. You mentioned that you were really, when you started out, you were really kind of focused on Luxo. Luxo really got you excited for 3D animation. That's what you fell in love with. Is there any other sort of films that kind of grabbed you and were like pivot points for your development or your learning or your passion for animation?
Well, I think the longer I've been in animation, I'm realizing that I think I got into animation for weird reasons. For me, it's all about story. Like, I feel like animation is just the most strongest type of storytelling there is, because you get nothing for free. You get zero. Like even the things you don't see, the thoughts inside their head, you're making on screen. So I think like animation stories are just incredible, and I know everyone loves them, but Pixar just to me are just story is king, and they do such a good job. Not, not always, but like almost always, they're doing the most incredible things that are on cinema screens. Yeah.
Yep. Majority of the time they are doing great
Yes.
things. Yeah. Yeah. And the things, I guess what's really good about Pixar is they've always pushed that envelope as well. It's not like they're setting back on their laurels and redoing a lot of things. Like, for me, I got really excited when I heard that The Incredibles 2 was coming out. But, when I stop and think about it, that was like 10 years between the two of them. It's like, who goes back over a story 10 years later?
I know, and I'm really excited for Soul as well. Have you seen the new trailer for Soul?
Oh, I haven't seen the new trailer for it, but
Oh, it's looking lovely.
yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, again, they're just the evolution of software and computing power to being able to what they can then put into the story and use to help tell compelling stories makes it really good. That's one thing which Pixar really does well. So
Yeah. I do love seeing smaller studios though. Like they always show that if the story's good, it doesn't really matter as well. I think you could do a story with stickmen if its story's good.
yeah,
But have you seen The Little Prince?
yes, yeah.
I love that. That's just beautiful in every way.
Yeah. Again, going back to 2D stuff, I'm really attracted to 2D as a form of storytelling. I can't do it to save myself, so that's why I kind of find it so fascinating, because it is such a beautiful hand drawn. You really get the feeling of the artist going into that art form as well. Yeah, or
Anything Glenn Keefe does is just beautiful.
yeah, like even the width of the line, how much pressure is actually put on the pencil to get that arc or something like that. It does come through if you get that geeky and you want to sit there and pull it apart. It's
Have
quite.
you seen? There's a TV show on Netflix called Hilda. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it. I know of it, but yeah.
Beautiful. I feel like a lot of the amazing stories at the moment are in TV as well, like especially animated TV shows. There's so much great stuff out there. But I would recommend that. Beautiful. The storytelling is so charming. I don't even know how you capture charm, but these things just capture it on screen.
Oh, yeah, because I have seen it and I've gone, oh yeah, that's one to kind of get on my watch list was Hilda. Yeah.
And obviously Bluey. You've seen Bluey, right?
Yes, I have seen Bluey.
Okay.
Kind of. My little son loves Bluey, so yes, we always do have to watch Bluey.
Has he dragged you into the games that they do in Bluey?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't dragged me into the games yet. So, all right. Well, I guess the last thing to kind of just because we've touched on a lot of stuff, where do you see yourself going from where you are now? You've got you're in a very quiet studio where you're probably just wrapping up any final bits and pieces. Have you got anything else that's on the horizon that you're angling towards, or?
I'm going to give the most annoying answer that people give when you get asked this, but there's a lot of stuff on the horizon. It's very exciting, but I can't talk about any of it. But when you're like, I just want to tell everyone, but I think that there's some exciting stuff coming everyone's way from like Photon.
Cool. Yep. Yeah.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around where I'm going, really. It's always so scary, isn't it? Because you have these careers and you go from one job to the next, and sometimes it's hard to know where you're aiming for. So I'm trying to redirect where I'm going.
Yeah. Well, going on that, I know we mentioned it before as well. You've also got an Instagram that you kind of keep going on too.
So it's just tiny little comics, nothing special. A lot of the times it's like weird animal facts or like just the things that happen in a introvert's awkward, anxiety-filled day. So if you can relate to that as an animator, you probably can. Just go and have a look, see if you like it.
Excellent. All right, Tania, thank you so much for sharing your journey and some of your animation wisdom to everyone who's here. Like I said before, the link to the Instagram will be down in the description below. Until the next time, I'll say thank you very much for joining me, Tania.
Thank you so much, Keefe. It was lovely.
Until the next time, we'll say bye-bye.
Bye.